Hey guys, this is our video for 10.3 where we're going to place numbers on a number line so we can kind of get a relative idea of how big they are compared to other numbers. So our learning target is I can place numbers on a number line. So where's a number like square root of 12 go? Well, the square root of 12, if we look at it on a calculator, the square root of 12 is this bottom one here, 3.464101615. So, it's not as simple as just putting a dot over the 3. But to have kind of an idea of where it should go, we should know that it's somewhere between 3 and 4. And it's at about 3.46, so kind of just under halfway. Okay, so let's look at the part of the number line that's right here, and I'm going to blow it up big. Okay, so this is the part of the number line that we have to usually imagine in our heads. Okay, so I just made it really big and made it so we could see the parts of the number line. So what is it we're seeing? So we see the whole number of 3, we see the whole number of 4, and then we see the little increments in between. Where's 3.1? Where's 3.2? Where's 3.3? And so on. So the square root of 12 was 3.46. And a whole bunch more numbers, but we don't need to be any more specific than that. So if I'm going to place a dot on the number line for where it is, okay, I would be going just under halfway to put my dot. And I'm making it super big because I'm about to shrink this back down to normal size. And that's about where it would be. And then we would take and we would label that dot square root of 12. We're going to label what it is, what that dot represents. Okay, so to place numbers on the number line, we have to change them into decimals and then approximate their location. So this first set of examples, everything's already a decimal, so we're going to talk about that. And approximate means that, we're not computers. We're going to put this on the number line to the best of our ability, but we're not computers. Okay, so 2.5. So 2.5, let's see, if I look at the number line that I'm given here, let's focus just on one thing at a time here. 2.5, so I've got 2, 2.2, 2.4, then 2.6. So this line right in the middle is our 2.5, and we'll draw a dot and we'll label that 2.5. You always label your number lines. Okay, 2.8, well, we can graph that right, that's labeled. 2.95, well, right here is 2.9. 2.95 is going to be that halfway point between 2.9, excuse me, and 2.3. In our next example, we've upped the level of difficulty a little bit by having some repeating decimals. Okay, so we've got 5.7 repeating, and it might be really tempting to put a dot on 5.7, but that would be wrong. We're not going to put a dot there. Here's why. 5.7 repeating means there's 7s that go on forever. So it's not 5.70, there's another 7 after it. So that means that I should be pretty close to the closer to the 5.8. Not on the 5.8, we're not rounding, okay? 5.7 repeating. .15 repeating. So 5.15 without the repeater bar would mean that we would draw our dot exactly in the middle between 5.1 and 5.2. 5.15 repeating, you know, it's a teeny tiny difference, but I do it just to the side. This would be 5.15 repeating. Okay, 5.1, easy. It's already labeled and everything. 5.75. Now here's where it's super close to 5.7 repeating. 5.75, I'm going to switch colors so you can have it stand out a little bit better. 5.75 would be the exact middle, and it would be under 5.7 repeating. It would be the exact middle. And I'm just going to kind of do an offshoot here so that my work is not too smushed. All right, one more example, 6.1. Now our number line counts by 0.2s. So 6.1 is actually going to be that halfway between 6 and 6.2. 5.31 repeating. So 5.2, 5.4, 5.31 is just going to be right almost in the center, maybe a scotch to the right. 5.31 repeating. 6.65. All right, so 6.65, we got to think for a second. I'm going to switch to gray so I can show you my thinking here. All right, 6.6 and 6.8. So in the middle of that would be 6.7. So it's not in the middle of those of 6.6 and 6.8. It's actually in the middle of 6.6 and where we have to imagine 6.7 is. So our point for 6.65 ends up being right about here. And we label it. 5.2, easy peasy. And we label it. Okay, so if everything's already a decimal, not too bad to put it on a number line. Okay, so the next level of difficulty is when everything's not a decimal to start with. Okay, when everything's not a decimal to start with, we need to change things into decimals. So square root of 3. I'm going to program into the calculator. Now, how many place values do we need? Not that many. I mean, if our place value on the number line is counting by tenths, then, you know, we're probably good with hundredths. Okay? So we've got 1.73. Okay? 1 1/2, hopefully we can do in our head, is 1.5. 160%, that's where we're moving the decimal over 2 times, so 1.6. Okay, you might put the 0 after that, it's fine if you do. 9.5, remember, is 9 divided by 5 in your calculator, and it comes out 1.8. And cube root of 4 is a calculator thing. Don't forget, you type 3 second caret. And we get 1.59. Okay, so putting those on the number line now that we have all decimals shouldn't be too bad. 1.73. Okay, so in my mind I'm thinking that 1.7 is right here in between 1.6 and 1.8. So 1.73 is going to be just to the side of it. Now, important point, when I go to label this dot, okay, I needed the decimal in order to when we label, we have to label with what we were given originally. We were originally given square root of 3. That's what I label on the number line. That's an important point. Okay? 1.5 is the decimal, so I'll draw my dot at where 1.5 is. But when I label, I will label with the original. Okay? 1.6. All right, now if you do find that you're having difficulty labeling the number lines because it looks too smushed, or some of the dots are closer together, you can, draw your dot, but I'm going to put my 160% underneath. Okay, you can label above and below. 1.8. Okay, that's the decimal, but when we label it, we want to label it 9/5, the way that we were given this answer. Okay, and 1.59 is the decimal, and that's just a smidgen under the 1.6. And we are getting a little squished, so I'm going to draw an arrow. Cube root of 4. Okay, so that's labeling. And on our last page, we're going to talk about the negative number line. We have to remember that the negative number line runs backwards. So -3 is on the left and -2 is on the right, which is the opposite of how it would be on the positive side. Okay, so here again, we're still going to go through and make everything into decimals. So -2 3/4 would be -2.75. How did I get that? You keep the negative, you keep the 2, and you type 3 divided by 4 into your calculator. Okay, now 3/4 is kind of an easier one to know in your head because 3/4, 3/4 is $1, whatever. Okay, -200%, move the decimal over 2 times. That's really just -2. -√7. I don't need to type the negative sign to the calculator. I can just put the negative sign down and do the square root of 7. 2.65, -2.65. Okay, -21/10, I would just divide that. Okay, keep the negative sign. -2.1. And negative cube root of 10. Keep the negative sign. 3 second caret 10. 2.15. Okay. So now we've got our decimals. That helps us find the position on the number line more easily. Okay, so our first one is that -2.75. So I know the -2.7 is right there, in between -2.8 and -2.6. My dot, the dot for this Here's negative 2.7. Now it might be tempting to go 5 more in the right hand direction, but remember that would be the positive number line. We're on the negative number line. We want to get closer to the 2.8, the negative 2.8, so it's going to go here. And labeling, don't forget, we want to label with the original way that it was given to us. It was given to us as a mixed number, so that's how I'm going to label it. Okay, our next dot for 200% is right at negative 2. Whoop. But it was labeled negative 200%, so that's what we have to put on the number line. Okay, negatives root 7 is at negative 2.65. So it's dot. Here again, we want to be careful. Here's negative 2.6. We have to go to the left to go toward the 7 to get larger, but really smaller. But it feels larger. We want to label that as negative root 7. Negative 2.1, that's a pretty easy one. You can label that right there. But when we label it, we have to label it in its mixed fraction form. Oh, changed color on me. Negative 21 over 10. And lastly, we've got negative cube root of 10. That was 2.15. So here's 2.1. 2.15 is going to be like right there in the middle. And here again, I kind of feel like I have two dots close together. When I put labeling in there, it's just going to look too squished. So you can always label underneath. And there you go. Thanks for watching. See you next time.